SCU have won the inaugural AEW Tag Team Championships. Welcome everyone to, I almost forgot how to do this. Welcome everyone to your Enhancement Talent Review for AEW Dynamite. October 30th, 2019. If you've noticed, I've been away for the past week. Had a ton of fun going to Pittsburgh, getting away, doing a vacation, just a little week off from everything. I intended to do some things. I brought my computer, my laptop, and my mic and the whole setup. The only time that I actually recorded a video, and maybe some of you saw it, was that I did a couple videos on Thursday, one of which was the review for AEW in Pittsburgh, which I was there live for. Unfortunately, the audio from that video did not pick up. So, that whole video is just a picture and a video of me talking without actually having any words. So, that was fairly embarrassing, and I uploaded that thing, and then an hour later realized that I had to delete it. But what's in the past is in the past. AEW in Pittsburgh was a ton of fun, just to give a brief overview of it. If you have a chance to go to an AEW show when they're near you, I would definitely recommend it. It was fun. The tickets were affordable, as they seem to be in most places. So even if it's a cheap ticket in the upper section, it's such that they're running smaller venues, so it feels like a more intimate sort of thing. Everyone in Pittsburgh was into it, and I know Pittsburgh isn't traditionally considered a big, wrestling town either. So it was really fun to go there and just have fun with everything. But to get into this show, which this one was from Charleston, West Virginia. The main event of this show was going to be the climax, the finale of the tag team title tournament that we have been seeing since the start of AEW on TNT. And it featured the Lucha Brothers versus SoCal Uncensored of Scorpio Sky and Frankie Kazarian. Just go through the match a little bit. Kazarian took a bad-looking fall on a Hurricane Rana where he lands head-on the apron. I don't know if he really got his bell rung from that or if that was the planned spot, but it didn't look good for him. The Lucha Bros take out Kazarian after that. They did a Canadian Destroyer to him right after I was thinking he was hurt. And then they powerbombed him through the Timekeeper's table. And the Lucha Bros try to take advantage in the 2-on-1 advantage against Sky. But eventually Sky, as the Lucha Bros were setting up for a double team move, Sky is able to get a small package, an inside cradle, on, I think it was Pentagon. And so Kazarian then is able to crawl back into the ring and dive at Phoenix to stop him from breaking the pin, and SCU win the first ever tag team, or they are the first ever tag team champions in AEW. And, I gotta be honest, you can go back and find the video I did where I predicted this whole tournament, and for one, I predicted Private Party would win the whole thing. And they came close. They beat the Young Bucks, which a lot of people didn't expect. But one of the big things from that is that I had SCU losing in the first match. Because at the time, we thought it was going to be Kazarian and Daniels teaming. But they did the angle. It ended up being Scorpio Sky and Frankie Kazarian. But when I did that, my reasoning for that was that I didn't really think SCU, the more veteran team, and really the one that with Kazarian and Daniels that a lot of people know, I figured, maybe they'll go with someone that they could build up into their own thing and go from there. Like, Private Party is relatively new. Not a lot of people know about them, but their showings in the matches they were in were enough to tell you about them. So that's why I liked them. I could have seen the Lucha Bros winning and, a couple other teams, but I didn't really consider that SCU was really a possibility. And what they did was really masterful, because what they did on that first match that SCU had, where the Lucha Bros took out Daniels, they injure him, and Scorpio Sky comes in, and they have the match, and Scorpio Sky, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in every match of this tournament, Scorpio Sky has been the one to get the winning fall for his team. And what they've made this tournament, at least on the SCU side of things, not only about establishing SCU as the tag team champions, but to me, this was really to establish Scorpio Sky as a real future player in AEW, as, a star of the tag team division, and if they ever decide to, he could be a star of the singles division, I think, with what they did with him here. And that's another thing I find interesting, too, is that the angle they did to take out Daniels, now the team won without Daniels. So when Daniels comes back, is there going to be any sort of angle played up? Is it going to be a jealousy thing? Is Daniels going to resent Scorpio Sky in some way, shape, or form, and that could build up to an eventual turn for one of them, or a split? I see that all as a possibility for that. And that's what I like about what they did here, because it leaves you wondering what could happen next. And with SCU, I think it's a good first tag team champions, because, like I said, a lot of these guys, we don't know a ton about them. SCU, I think a lot of people at least know Kazarian and Daniels. So to put the titles on them first, and then build to whoever is going to end up taking it from them from there, and build up the rest of your tag teams, I think it's a really good move. And I have to give AEW a ton of credit. They've done a great job in these early weeks of making the tag team division feel important and establishing their teams and really setting up a nice future for their tag team division, which is something that WWE has done an awful job of for the past, really decades of tag team wrestling not feeling important. And AEW, I think, did a really good job of establishing what we can expect from these tag teams going forward and building into the future. And, I still have my issues with some of the tag team matches that they do, just because it never seems like there's any rhyme of reason or rules or anything. But I hope they iron that out, because it's just like, if you want to have different rules, then that's fine, but just establish them and use them consistently. But, that's something I've talked about every week on here, so we don't have to go down that plot hole, or rabbit hole, I should say. But, good stuff, a good main event. I thought the match was very solid and a good way to close the show. But from there, we'll get to the rest of the review, starting at the top with the cold open with Cody and Dustin Rhodes getting off a plane, and Cody meeting with Tony Schiavone on the outside of it, as he's going to take a limo drive with Tony, as they're going to have the contract signing for Cody and Chris Jericho's world title match later on in the show. And so after this, they had a recap package of what happened after AEW went off the air. If you've seen the story that there was an angle that they did after the show went off the air. Apparently, it was a timing issue because it was originally supposed to be a part of the show, but it wasn't. And, we in the Pittsburgh audience were the only ones that saw it. And that was when, after the Moxley and Pac match, Pac put a chair around Moxley's neck. He was going to try to do the Black Arrow off the top rope onto that, but Kenny Omega came out to save Moxley. And then after that was when Hangman Page came out, and as Pac retreated, Hangman challenged him to a match at Full Gear. So, they do this, and then that leads into what they show after that, which is Moxley, who is told by a backstage personnel guy that Tony Khan wants to see John in his office. Excuse me. And so Moxley goes into Tony Khan's office, and the camera standing on the outside of the office, so they didn't actually have a camera in Tony's office. The camera on the outside captures the sound of Tony telling Moxley that the match with Omega will be unsanctioned. Moxley is pissed off at that. He says that he's worked his ass off for this, and now the match won't even count, and then says what happens to Omega will now be on Tony Khan's hands. So, this is the first time, if I'm not mistaken, that Tony Khan has been featured in any sort of storyline or angle or promo on AEW television. And I know that's something that he said from the get-go that he doesn't plan on doing, that they won't have authority figures on TV, but, this looked like an authority figure thing to me. And, they did a good job making it look like a real thing without having the cameras set up in Tony's actual office. Like, that was all well and good, but to me, this sets up something in the future for Tony Khan, right? Like, I mean, I thought Tony was kind of a dick here. Like, and Moxley had the promo later where we'll talk about that, but the thing with these unsanctioned matches is that they don't count towards the win-loss record, because it's basically like they don't exist. It's just there. You can do whatever you want. There's no rules. The ref is just there to count the pinfall or submission, and it never counts from there. But AEW's thing is that the win-loss record is important. So, to me, it seems like a dick move to then unsanction this match with Moxley and Omega, when really it should have big implications on which one of them could be getting a title match later down the line. Like, if Moxley were to win the match against Omega, and he still hasn't lost to this point, then you would think that he would be in line for a title shot down the line, but the thing is that it doesn't count. So, I thought Tony was kind of a dick. So, I don't know if they plan on using Tony regularly. I doubt it. I think it'll be in rare occasions like this one. But yeah, we'll get to the whole meat of the Moxley thing in his promo later. So then we get the opening video package, and because all that was sort of the cold open stuff, then they do the video package, they welcome us to the show, and out for the first match of the night is Hangman Page versus Sammy Guevara. And God, I continue to love what Sammy is doing. And he didn't have the little panda thing that he normally comes out with. I was a fan of dropping that, the little panda hoodie and whatnot, with him being a part of this Chris Jericho faction. I think him as the cocky young heel, I think is a good start for him. I think he shows it in his in-ring work very well. I think he does a lot of good stuff to get heat and do things the right way. And, one of the examples of that was how he had Hangman Page down. He climbs to the top rope and then acts like he's going to do this big move, but then he just hops off the turnbuckle, slaps Hangman in the face. Beautiful. So, Hangman eventually is going to win this match. And it was a pretty good match. And he's going to win not with the Deadeye, but with the Buckshot Lariat. So it's good for Hangman, too, to win a match with that move instead of always having to use the Deadeye, because then it helps down the line to buy into near falls when you've actually won matches with that move. So I like that they did that. Sammy Guevara, the 2 matches he's been in on TNT, he lost to Cody and now he lost to Hangman Page. So you would think I'd be sitting here like, oh, they're burying Sammy Guevara. No, they're not. They're doing a fantastic job with slowly building Sammy. And right now, he's a part of a faction. He can have heat with Jericho by transference almost, and that whole group. And when he's the one that is constantly in these matches and putting on good showings, I think he could be one of the well, I mean, it's really just him and Hager that are the 2 singles guys. But he could really break out into a big single star after that group is finished with. Similar to what Randy Orton did post-Evolution. I see a lot of that in Sammy Guevara. I think he could be that same sort of thing for AEW. The young, upstart, cocky heel. And, once he eventually breaks away from that group, he can do something else, and he can always... I feel like this is more to establish himself. And then once he is established enough to stand on his own, he could have his own faction. He could just be a singles guy. They could do a lot of things with Sammy. So I'm looking forward to what we see from him going forward. After this, we had our one women's match of the night, which was someone named Shanna versus Hikaru Shida. First time I think we've seen Shida since All Out with the match with her and Rio. It was a fine match, was mostly just there to have a little showcase for Shida, show off what she can do, and she wins with the running knee. I'll continue to say that I'm unimpressed with AEW's women's division, but that's another thing that I've said multiple times, and I don't feel like we need to go back into that. They also did a Brandy Rhodes video package, which highlighted the whatever it was she did to Jamie Hayter last week, and then pointed at the interviewer, and she had some sort of vignette thing with her and Awesome Kong. I don't know. We'll see where it goes. They set up that whole Awesome Kong and Aja Kong match, and we haven't seen either of them since then. So I don't know what's going on with all that. After that, Chris Van Vliet comes out to interview the Rock and Roll Express, of all people. And I guess they were supposed to talk about the AEW Tag Team Champions and present the titles, because they had the titles with them. But before they can really say much, LAX comes out, they blindside them and attack them with loaded socks, like they're in prison or something. And what they were loaded with, quarters, rocks, cotton balls, I guess we'll never know. But yeah, they attacked them from behind. They put one of them through a table of sorts that was at ringside. It was a table, but it fell into a crate or something, so I'm sure it was a well-protected thing. But either way, I was surprised that they really did this much with the Rock and Roll Express. But after that, the Young Bucks come in, they chase them off, and that's the segment. Then this was one of my favorite things on the show after this. they did a segment with, because earlier in the show they showed Tony Schiavone and Cody, they get the limo and whatnot. So they have a video of Cody and Tony in the limo. And Tony, like, this felt very natural. It just felt like a conversation between the two. And Tony shared a Dusty Rhodes story with Cody about, I think it was about, it was him meeting someone. I can't even remember who it was. I think it was an actor or something. But the whole base of the story was that Tony went in to get Dusty to meet this person, and the sentiment of it was Dusty said that the star always comes in last, so make him wait. And so that's what Tony said they will do with Jericho tonight, is they'll make him wait. So I like this segment. This was very natural. And, just it's always cool with Tony, especially, being involved with the Cody Rhodes stuff and being able to talk about what Dusty did and things like that. So that was a good segment. After this, we had a 6-man tag match with the Best Friends and Orange Cassidy. And they were up against I know it was the one sort of jobber tag team, Reynolds and someone else. And then it was someone else, but I know who it was, but I can't remember who it is now. So, whatever. But who they were facing was not really important anyway, because this match was mostly about Rick and Morty, because I guess this is a part of some cross-partnership with AEW and Rick and Morty, or I don't know if that airs on TNT, and maybe that's why. But either way, the whole thing, like, they were cosplaying as Rick and Morty. Even Orange Cassidy. And, Cassidy eventually does his devastating kicks and does a dive with his hands in his pockets, which leads to the win for the Best Friends. And that is all there is to say on that. Then we get the contract signing, Chris Jericho and Cody. Chris Jericho comes out, and then after that, the limo of Cody and Schiavone arrives. They made Jericho wait, and then they come out. Jericho cuts a promo and signs the contract. Jericho offers to shake Cody's hand. They shake hands, but Cody pulls Jericho back into him as he tries to walk away. And Jericho says, "We can be here all night, but you may need to be somewhere else." And that's when the Titantron shows Sammy Guevara on his phone, I'm assuming, or something. And it pans away to show Jake Hager beating up Dustin Rhodes, Cody's older half-brother. Beating him up, kneeing him in the balls, similar to that of his last MMA fight. Shoving his head into the back of the car, leaving a dent, and slamming the door, the car door, on Dustin's arm. Cody runs in, they chase him off. Security comes out with him, but Jericho comes out, and Jericho lights a cigar and watches on laughing, and then gets in the car with his inner circle friends, and they drive off. So this was a cool little, basic build to a big title match. It was nothing crazy. I mean, we've seen 1,000 contract signings before. But, this one, it wasn't like the prototypical contract signing. They at least did something a little bit different, so this was all good. Then we get the 6-man tag, again, another 6-man tag of the Elites, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks versus Angelico, Jack Evans, and Kip Sabian. It is what you would think. There was a ton of moves that I won't go over all of them, and Omega wins with a one-winged angel. And after that, Santana and Ortiz briefly attack the Young Bucks at ringside before Kenny chases them away. So, yeah, that's about all there was to that. And I think this will be the last thing we go over because then it was the main event. But the Librarians come out. I believe the first time they've actually been on television and not on AEW Dark. And thankfully, soon into their promo, Jon Moxley comes out through the crowd. He lays out Peter Avalon with a paradigm shift and grabs a mic because Mox was ready to talk. He does a fantastic promo, off the cuff, unscripted, I'm sure, ranting about his match being unsanctioned, tells AEW they can shove their win-loss records up their asses, and that he will beat Omega within an inch of his life, and it will all be at the hands of AEW management. And, you know, I couldn't recap everything that he said because there was a ton of stuff that he said, but if you want to, just watch this promo because it was good Jon Moxley, and it wasn't Dean Ambrose. It wasn't a Dean Ambrose promo. It was Jon Moxley being able to go off the cuff and talk like only he knows how to with the intensity and the vigor that he has. And that was a ton of fun. The first time, in fact, that we've had Moxley with a live mic in AEW. Which is a shame it took this long. Even though, you know, that was, I think that was one of the things they advertised for the first show was that Jon Moxley would be there with the live mic. But then the whole thing with the injury happened. And I guess that had to be scrapped or whatever. But, you know, great stuff from Moxley. And a really good promo to get into the match with he and Omega. And, yeah, then after that we had the tournament final, which I touched on at the beginning. So, that's what we got for you. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Comments, whatever you would like. Be looking forward for more stuff from me on all the AEW and WWE shows. And until I see you again, thank you for watching.